Day 240 like a 98 Nissan, and we about to put them beats on. What's up, everybody? It's day number 240. In the 90s, Nissan released the 240 SX. It was an important car for drifting culture and stuff. First card of the day here is Scattered Groves. This enters the battlefield tapped, and it cycles for 2. It's also a forest. It's also a plains. These are good. I believe we've done these before, but that said, we haven't done every single cycle of dual lands that's ever been in print. So maybe we haven't, but I think we have done these cycling duels that are both types. But these are pretty good, all things considered. When were these first actually printed? Amonkhet. I thought that they were in a standard set. I just know it. But I actually think we've hit Scattered Groves specifically before. So I can't count this one. These are decent cards, though. Stone Giant. Good old Stone Giant from the way back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get in the Maybach. Put on that Bobby Womack. So I want to go way back. 4 mana, 2 and 2 red for a 3/4 Giant. You can tap it to have target creature you control with toughness less than this guy's power gain flying until end of turn. Destroy the creature at the beginning of the next end step. Pretty bad. Right, but there were actually times that we played this card back in the day. It had somewhat of a reputation, mostly on kitchen tables, but not enough of one, I think, for the honorary 5. Not quite. I will say that being able to get an unlimited edition Stone Giant for like $2, that's not bad. You had a limited edition beta. You had a beta one for $20. Little beta uncommon that actually has some history behind it for $20. And I bet if you go to TCG Player, you can find some heavily played ones that are like, like $8 or something. I bet you could. I bet you could. I might actually do that. But Stone Giant itself is pretty. I mean, look at this card. You know what I mean? Like, maybe sort of fling, which, by the way, this is like where we get the concept of flinging a creature. I'm pretty sure this is it. I know it doesn't deal damage directly to anything when you fling a creature with this. But again, I want to say this was the OG flinger where we sort of originally started developing the concept. So, Scott, I give it some love for that too. But I will not honor it too much. Better than a hill giant most of the time. I will give this a 2.8. Sure. Let's go. I'm so sorry. So sorry, Stone Giant. Next is an island with great Douglas Schuler art. I like basically every Mirage basic land that there is, especially that swamp with the moons and it's gorgeous. You guys know I play. Those are the swamps I play on Arena. But in any case, basics get a 5. They don't count. Guiltfeeder is up next from Judgment down here. What a freaky little guy. 5 mana, 3 and 2 black. Green? My brain. 3 and 2 black for a 0/4 horror with fear. That means that he can't be blocked except by artifacts or black creatures. Whenever Guiltfeeder attacks and is not blocked, defending player loses 1 life for each card in his or her graveyard. So pretty sick that you could just like mill your opponent a bunch of cards or something and then like, I don't know, hit him for a bunch. That's the idea here, but like this isn't worth $5 probably. I will say this still commands $2 from its original set and about $1 from every other set it's been printed in. So like people are doing some pretty fun stuff with this thing, I imagine. Right. I do like the Mark Teton art. I've always liked Mark Teton art as, again, he's perfect for freaky little guys. You know what I mean? So big fan of that. Ultimately, I don't think I want to score this like super duper highly though. I mean, I will say this about that. In a normal game of Magic, like Commander or something, like it's turn 6 and you get in with Guiltfeeder against a player who can't block it, and it's pretty hard to block it, right? So if it actually does get in, maybe it hits for like 12, like something ridiculous. And even again, in like a normal game of Commander on turn 6, it could easily hit for like 7, right? So unblockable 6 or 7 damage. That's not too bad. So I'm sort of talking myself into it. And the more I talk myself into it, the more I feel like I should stop and actually just rate it the score I was going to give it originally. It kind of feels like it's putting its tendrils into my mind. Like, I'm very good. It's like, you're not actually. I think that you are, in fact, kind of a trap for 5. Man, that's ridiculous. So if you do slap it down on the commander table, everyone will immediately be like, what is that? Like, oh, that's neat. I'm going to kill it, like guaranteed. So I'm going to give this like a 4, and that is all potential. All of that is potential. I do think the card's like kind of overpriced for 0-4. Next is the Grey Havens from. That's how I read all the Lord of the Rings cards in my head. I don't think I've ever read them like that in this series, but I think I should start doing it. The Grey Havens is a legendary land. When the Grey Havens enters the battlefield, you get a scry. You can also, which is crazy considering it doesn't come into play tapped or anything. It just ETBs your scry one. You can tap it for a colorless, or you can tap it to add a mana among any color among, a mana of any color among legendary creature cards in your graveyard. That's a pretty good looking card. That's a pretty fine looking lady right there, I guess. That's cool. Doesn't matter that it's legendary. You're playing Commander. You know what I mean? And this probably goes in like Joda decks, obviously, but there's a ton of like legendary matters decks that you could mess around with in Commander. Like even if it wasn't ostensibly legendary matters, you probably have like 5 or 6 legendary dudes in your deck, like on average, depending on the deck. You know what I mean? There's legendary creatures in your deck. So this could just be a command tower that scries when it ETBs, but never on like turn 1. It's still not bad on turn 1, depending on like the makeup of your deck. I don't know. I kind of like this. I've never seen it. I've never seen the Grey Havens. Sorry. That's got to be like a pretty awful voice, so I'll stop. But this I will give. Let me give this like a 7. Am I wild? Am I being stupid? I'm pretty sure this is a really good land. But I'll move on to Brutalizer Exarch here from New Phyrexia. Look at that art, dude. It's awesome. Good job, Mark Zug. This is good name, Mark Zug. This is a 6 mana, 5 and a green for a 3/3 cleric. It's actually a Phyrexian cleric. When it enters, choose 1. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, shuffle, put the card on top, or put target non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. So that's too much mana to do either of those things. Usually I like versatility. Is there, look at this. Look at this line. Do you guys see this line in the art? This line right here that's coming out of this area here. It might just be behind him, but it seems like the line continues past the line of his pant or his cloak there. Either way, it looks like there's a line coming out right here and that it's going everywhere. That he's having a time is what I'm saying. Either way, that's a weird thing to notice about this art after all these years, because I've looked at this card a bunch. But anyway, mostly you just see the teeth, but this is too much. It's always been too much for what this card can potentially do. You know what I mean? Like for 6 mana, put the guy in my hand. You know what I mean? Why won't you just put the guy in my hand? But anyway, this for 6 mana, it can be a creature. Like, come on, dude. I don't know. It might be like Desert Twister if it could hit creatures, and you don't necessarily want that on a body. That's easy to cast. It's only 1 green mana. I'm talking about him too much. He's not as good as I think he might look. I think most people though can see this and be like, yeah, it costs 6 mana. Imagine what you can get for 6 mana. Not this guy. So cool ETB if you want to blink in, but for the most part, I really can't give this guy more than like a 3.4. Mostly because I wanted that bar. But we'll move on to Stalwart Valkyrie here. This is 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 3/2 Angel Warrior. We just looked at this guy, actually. It was just like different art, I think. We literally just looked at this guy like last week, so you're not going to get me like that, Valkyrie. Oh my god, it's Manifold Mouse. Look at this art. Look at this cool art right here. Manifold Mouse, as you probably know if you played Magic in the last 6 months, is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 1/2 Mouse Soldier with Offspring 2. That means you can pay 2 mana, and you get an additional 1/1 a copy of it when it ETBs. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target mouse you control gains your choice of Double Strike or Trample until end of turn. So, obviously busted 60 card 1v1s. This is mostly for Commander, so I can't rate it like 2i because there's not a whole lot of mice decks in Commander, but I guess there could be. Maybe you do like a Mabel deck in Commander. I guess you could, but I probably wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But I don't know, it kind of makes me want to do that now. It's like if you get your Manifold Mouse in your Mabel deck in Commander, it's probably doing some real work. So kind of do, as much as I hate to say it because it's a scourge in Standard right now, and like mono red or red white or red green, like mice they're probably just the best aggro decks in the format, and they have been for a really long time now, it feels like. So sorry to all the people out there that hate the card, but I have to rate it objectively. It's very, very good there. So I'm going to give this like a 5.7 or something, because I am giving it some love for how good it is in, 60 card formats. But I also think building mice. It's obviously getting points for how good it is in standard. Stop. But next is Gentio de Elfos, which is actually Drove of Elves from Shadowmoor here. Cool Larry McDougal art. I kind of like this style here. 4 mana, 3 and a green for a star elf. The power and toughness are each equal to the number of green permanents you control. And it also cannot be the target of spells or abilities that your opponents control, aka hexproof. Wouldn't be too long after this that we'd keyword this ability. That's good. That's actually good. I have seen Drove of Elves before, but every time I reread it, I'm like, so you're crazy, right? Like, it's so good. It's not just PT equal to the number of elves you control, which would already be like kind of fun, but just green permanents. Just green permanents. You got enchantments and stuff. Let's go. So awesome. And also hexproof helps. Hexproof is probably the best ability in the game. Maybe controversial, but I think that hexproof might be the best ability in Magic. So I've just always liked it, dude. I'm going to give this like a 5.8. Really, really sick card in elves specifically, obviously. But it doesn't even have to be, when you think about it, doesn't even have to be an elf. So I'm just saying, but we'll move on to Sepulcher Ghoul here. This, I believe we have also done recently. No, we have. This is Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/1 Zombo. Sack another creature. Ghoul gets +2/+2 till end of turn. But you only get to do this once per turn for whatever reason. Like, if you could do it more than once a turn, it would be strictly better Phyrexian Ghoul or Nantuko Husk, and I guess you can't make that card. That would be really, really good. You just can't do that. So, still, it is a Zombo. And zombie decks don't mind having sort of this ability from time to time, but I still think they'll play better stuff. And like Nantuko Husk is a zombie. I'm pretty sure Phyrexian Ghoul is a zombie. So like, what does it matter that this guy's a zombie when all the other dudes that are kind of better than him for just 1 more mana, they have a real threat of activation. I'm going to sacrifice like 80 dudes if you let through this Nantuko Husk. Sepulcher Ghoul is not that intimidating, so I can't love him too much. I'm going to give this like a 3.4. Sure. I'm comfortable with that. You guys all right with that? 3.4. Next is, it's Tyvar, Jubilant Brawler, throwing punches, getting munches. This is in bunches, 3 mana, 1 a green and a black for a 3 loyalty Tyvar Planeswalker. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had it a haste, but it also has a +1. It doesn't just have a Concordant Crossroads passive, which is pretty good, right? But it's also got +1, untap up to 1 target creature. You can also -2 him and mill 3 cards, and then you can return a creature card mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, ladies and gentlemen, to the battlefield. It's insane. This is $1. This is $1, and I actually think that it's like kind of playable in Commander. I think everyone will like immediately gun for it. You got to be ready for that. Planeswalkers can be kind of a tough sell in Commander sometimes because they just get like hit in the mouth. You know what I mean? If you can't protect them, and they're a little harder to protect there. But again, you get a one-sided Concordant Crossroads. It's so nasty, man. And like, I think this is pretty decent in Standard, where it's probably the best card in Insidious Roots. Like, Insidious Roots isn't even the best card in Roots. It's this guy, The games where they get a Tyvar are like so much better for them than games where they don't. It just kind of makes the whole thing run. So awesome card there. Great with mana dorks, obviously, for like 2 different reasons. He untaps them and stuff. Great with anything that has like a really powerful tap down ability, So insane. And the -2 is great too. The -2 is actually fantastic. There's a lot of really powerful creatures for 2 mana in Magic history. So fantastic guy. As far as Planeswalkers and Commander go, he has a relatively low loyalty, which is not amazing, but I still think he's really, really cool. So I'll give Ty a 6. Sure, dude. Yeah, I'll give Tyvar a 6. I think this dude's powerful. I do. And he's only $1. That's not a bad deal. Next is Slobad, everybody. It's Slobad from Darksteel, the Goblin Tinkerer. 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 1/2 Goblin Artificer Legend. You sure are, bud. Sacrifice an artifact. Target artifact becomes indestructible until end of turn. Whoop, whoop. So this combines pretty well with like destroy all artifact effects and stuff like that. Combines well with specifically some other like creatures in Magic history, but basically anything where you're busting up artifacts. Nivinriel's Disc is a good example, right? Oblivion Stone, I believe, is another good example if in your artifacts deck. You know, you can protect important artifacts with your Slobad and sack stuff that's going to die anyway. And nowadays, think about all the stuff you can sack to protect your, big important artifacts. You got treasure tokens and clue tokens and blood tokens and rad counters and just all this garbage, junk tokens even now because of Fallout. Also rad tokens because of Fallout. That set gave us a lot of tokens. I'm pretty sure Fallout gave us junk. Either way, I'm not going to get stuck down that rabbit hole. Slobad is really, really good. I've always liked this little dude. And every now and again you see somebody on the YouTube.com with their like, oh, this is my Slobad commander deck. And I'm like, I support him. So I like this guy. I'm going to give him I'm going to give him a 6 too. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give Slobad a 6. This is a pretty efficient creature. I really like commanders like this that are just really fun and interesting to brew around. And he's really cheap too. I really, really, really like cheap commanders that don't cost like 5 mana to get out. So he's efficient. He's efficient the second and even third time you play him, depending on your mana. So really like dudes like this. I will stick a 6 on this guy. Next is Opal Palace. This is a land that taps for a colorless, but you can also pay 1 and tap it and add a mana of any color in your commander's color identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, it gets +1/+1 counter on it equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game. I guess it's one of those things that sounds good, but it's probably not like actually that good. You know what I mean? Like you're actually adding to my commander tax every time I want to play my commander, but I guess like in some decks, you'll have more than enough anyway. And some decks have this weird intersection where like they're green decks that care about +1/+1 counters, but they're also green decks that ramp a lot. So like they will have extra mana when they go to cast their commander like the second, third, or even fourth times. Like it's possible that they will. So they just have all their lands. So if so, then you can have your dude that cares about +1/+1 counters enter with multiple +1/+1 counters, and like who knows what that triggers. So like maybe there's like a spot for this. And I'll also say the Andreas Roca art is awesome. That's a beautiful little painting I'd like to have on my wall at the old folks home where I live. But anyway, this I'm not going to score like super high. I think it's probably not going to see too much play in too many decks. But again, I think there's like theoretical spots where it could go. So I'm going to give Zeus, because I am French all of a sudden. I don't know why. I'm going to give this a 4.9. I'm going to give it a 4.9. I feel bad. Next is Dreamshackle Geist over here. 3 mana, 1 and 2 blue for a 3/1 spirit with flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1. Tap target creature, or a creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. I love this dude in Standard. When he was in Standard, I was always kind of bummed out that he never saw that much play on a larger stage. There were a couple of decks I'd see every now and again on like MTG Go that might like run a Dreamshackle Geist. I think there were some YouTubers that really liked this card aside from me too, but really never got its day in the sun. But if you look at it, you get to tap a dude down every single turn, or you get to freeze a guy for a turn, which could also be like really, really good depending. So these guys actually halfway decent, man. In your Spirit's Commander deck, it's not like they don't exist. So I'm going to give this guy a 4.4. I think he's better than he appears. You get a cool little effect like every single turn. So I like it. But Galadhrim Bow is up next. It's a Middle Earth card. This is 3 mana, 2 and a green for an artifact. It's an equipment with flash. It equips for 2. The equipped creature gets +1/+2 and has reach. When it enters the battlefield, this thing, attach it to target creature you control and untap the creature. So kind of a combat trick, 3 mana for +1/+2 and reach, and we'll block that guy with flying out of nowhere. Pretty bad though. It's pretty terrible combat trick, all things considered. So I'm just gonna give this a 2.6, and I would say move on, but it's actually our final card of the day. I'm so sorry. Oh wow, we're 20 minutes in. I guess that was definitely enough time. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.